Okay, just take a quick look at the map paused. So that's a bit more important, 1v1. Yeah, this is a really sparse map, huh? Basically like 2 iron patches and only 1 interesting lump of aluminum. There's another workable double O over there, but you don't really want that. Scavenger is pretty weak. See what happens. This might be one of those rare games I actually try to go expansive in 1v1. I'd be... oh, I did not notice this carbon. Yeah, that's nice carbon. Reasonably near that, reasonably near that. Yeah, I like this found. Wonder where black magic's gonna go. Yeah, I don't think you can go expansive against Scavenger. Against a robot, maybe. Against a scientist, maybe. Against another expansive, definitely. Nothing really sticks out either of these early plays. What is Black Magic doing with his last 2 claims? He is grabbing... I understand that play. As a robot, I think you could probably get away with the 1 aluminum per second. Maybe. And that gets in Dubin's way. I do not love that though. What got nuked? Yeah, the carbon getting nuked is pretty big. Because this goes from a good carbon patch to a very weak carbon patch. I think that needed to be gooned straight away. It was gonna be hard given how he had to fight for the upgrade, but I think it was important enough long term. That's gonna be a huge drag. Grabs a claim, grabs more carbon, it makes sense. I would fully expect Black Magic to dump another nuke over there. Although he might have trouble finding money for that, so maybe not. Because steel is now dead, and that was his only real money before. In fact, it's probably a mistake for him to buy any black market at this point. This is the robot's conundrum. You spend a lot of your, like almost all your claims in the early going are going to be devoted to iron steel as a robot. So once those prices collapse, you're kind of really struggling. He's gonna make it through, but it's just gonna be painful. With that double electronic starting price. Meanwhile, Dubin, well, started with a lot more debt. We can actually check how much debt he started with. 40k. That is sizable. I think it's probably justified given the position of aluminum and everything else on the map. Did he? He might not have had a chance to defend his carbon before the nuke came down. I'm not sure. If Black Magic's cooldown came... I mean, if he scraped together the money before Dubin's cooldown ended. But yeah, that hurts a lot, and that's going to continue to be a pain. Dubin is going... Has he been buying claims this whole time? Nice, 2 claim spot. The first one to go into more carbon I understood, and I think was... Oh no, these were glass that he moved into the farms. Never mind. I don't know what he did... When did he buy the second claim, though? For the water? Yeah, I can't say I agree with that one. Because the 4.5k I think, needed to be pushing for the upgrade. Solar panel? I mean, you're right up against this cliff here. You have the carbon production already. This is dust storm coming. This just... Nah. I mean, yeah, in the moment you probably don't notice that dust storm warning while you're playing. And that... But yeah, that's definitely a big swing in the game. I'm not sure I like Black Magic's nuke on the aluminum. Let's talk about that for a second. Nukes in general. I feel like nukes are very different from other types of black market. Well, they are very different from other types because they're permanent. And you really want to be thinking about the long-term effects of your nukes. In this case, what nuking the aluminum does is slow down Dubin quite a bit. Future upgrades going to be much slower on 1 aluminum per second than on 2. But you're not really benefiting all that much from the play. You're stuck on the 1 aluminum per second yourself, even as a robot that's going to be somewhat slow. You're not going to have much of a surplus of aluminum to take advantage of the higher aluminum price spikes you're likely to see because of the nuke. So it's kind of just making an awkward situation for everyone involved. It's not a bad nuke by any means, but I don't think it's as effective a long-term play as something like nuking out this carbon would be. You nuke at that carbon, Dubin is down to, what, 1.75 plus 0.8 something? So like 2.5 carbon a second. Then he's just really struggling. I mean, he can grab one more quarry, fine. You're forcing him to spend another claim. He's continuing to be on extremely weak carbon. And long term, I think that hurts him much more than nuking this aluminum does. Especially since, again, Black Magic's not going to see all that much benefit out of a higher aluminum price. It's a bit of a minor thing, I guess, but it definitely feels wrong. Freeze on the Geo. Yeah, that's probably the right move. That's going to stop the Geo for longer than a dynamite would. And, well, repairing would not cost Black Magic very much at all, so that's fine. Power continues to be insane. 2 solar panels during a dust storm just isn't gonna cut it. I would really have liked to see these farms moved into some turbines or something. I would like to see some sort of move to try to take advantage of this power price before Black Magic could get into the power himself. See, Black Magic's getting into these wind turbines now, and what could have been an opportunity to take a large advantage is going to be something that becomes a disadvantage very quickly. Yeah, the power play is definitely a bit of a mistake. I think taking the second water is probably fine in the sense that that helps you support the triangle. You can't support the triangle without the second water claim, and you want the triangle. But yeah, just not seeing this dust storm, I think, earlier was a huge deal. I think, let's see. Yeah, you're not, I don't know if you've noticed at this point that Black Magic has only a -1 water per second deficit. That's something you could try to take advantage of. Probably not all that successfully, honestly. Yep. The other downside to only having solar panels, well, They're easy to keep frozen. Did a good job with that freeze, but now this Geo's about to come online. There's no way for you to deal with it for a while. I feel like this definitely swung on power. Although it could have easily swung on these nukes that should have come down heavily there. I do not like this triples glass play. I do not understand it. It is just bad. Quite frankly. Black Magic doesn't have any silicon. This should be punished with the silicon buy. It hasn't been, but that's pretty easy to do. And also, the prices are just gonna converge so quickly in a 1v1 setting. I don't know why those were moved out of reactors, and if you're gonna move them out of reactors, electronics? I don't know, glass definitely is not the choice I would have made. Okay. I don't understand the move into glass here either. At this point, there's just not that much money in glass. Maybe as a way to contest the market, but there's not enough of a market left. Okay, that is fair that silicon was more abundant than carbon when you moved into power, and yeah, I guess that you didn't see the dust storm warning, but okay, yeah, so he nuked you before the cooldown, which maybe is a reason to avoid this spot, but it's just a bit unfortunate. But yeah, I think even with the sort of consideration about carbon and silicon, I think once you do see the dust storm hitting, I did talk about moving the food into wind, something like that, just because you knew you could see that your opponent was in a position to commit a bit more heavily into power than you were in, and you wanted to probably take advantage of that. But, I mean, you're holding on, you're an HQ level ahead, and your debt isn't all that different. So, maybe I'm overestimating that. Maybe what really happened is that Black Magic overcommitted to power with these two Geos and made a series of weird, bad transitions. He left Steel offline for too long. He has a single farm because he's Black Magic, and that's what Black Magic does. Yeah. Black Magic definitely misplayed around Steel. I'm curious about how it ended up being the case that he didn't take as much advantage of power. I guess that's the reason.
The black market is online.
90s. Yeah, there's no way for me to tell how much of this is shipping and how much of that is just buildings. Kind of unfortunate. But we can... Oh, he has water engine. Okay. I mean, he got water engine from the auction. I think it was auction debt? 30k. Okay. So I mean, that's all part of why Black Magic isn't in a better position.
New building is available for auction.
I am a bit confused about why those were moved from reactors into more farms. I mean, yeah. Black Magic's doing a good job of playing with prices. And I think, well, I haven't been paying close enough attention to the territory, but I assume there's a lot of transitions just being one step behind in that. And that really costing you. And I guess part of the reason why Black Magic isn't further ahead, well, isn't ahead in upgrades, is that he's too busy doing all that stuff.
Black market is open for business.
I don't I mean, I understand that he's attacking you to try to get you to... Okay, never mind. I just don't understand this run on your stock. He is still 47k, well, more than 47k, but over 50k short of finishing the buy. He's not gonna beat you there. This isn't gonna pay off in any way, shape, or form. You didn't have that many resources that he could force you to commit. I can't see this as anything but a plain mistake. He needs to be upgrading and making stuff.
A scavenger HQ has been upgraded.
I mean... no. I don't understand what Black Magic's doing. I mean, literally, unless he stepped away from his computer, there's no reason for this to be happening right now. Okay, now he's selling out.
The black market
Definitely very late for that to be happening. You have access to carbon anywhere? Ooh. Not really. So he's going into chems, which is probably fine. No, he's going to steel. Needs to not be in this farm.
Let the bidding begin.
This is pretty inexcusable at this point. Convert it to one more steel mill. I mean, really. Going into 2 glass, into 2 chems, either of those makes sense. Needs to be in a patent lab, he needs to pick up carbon scrubbing.
Congratulations.
This territory is just all sorts of awkward. 720 iron, I guess. Can you sell out of this last bit of stock, please? I can't get over this.
The black market is
I don't understand the oh, okay, fine. Dubin does have a fairly large amount of cash at this point. I'm going to stop making assumptions about the outcome of this game because I don't remember looking up the well, I don't remember what Dubin said the outcome was. And I don't want to judge the play based on what I think the outcome was.
Your stock is being sold.
This is also a bit awkward, although it was probably fine in the moment. I didn't catch where power was when the transition happened, and is probably largely the solar flare that caused it to crater quite that quickly. So now that that's all over, at least one of those should be moved to something. Okay, fence has been forced. Man, that's expensive. Okay, fourth carbon claim, makes sense. The second nuke did come down at some point. And that nuke was important and correct. I think what I'd really like to see is for this tile to be gooned. But that is a straight up mistake, Black Magic. This one has not a lot more adjacency, but has an extra 25% of adjacency. Come on.
The black market is online.
And this is still a single farm. But yeah,
This is not
at some point carbon needed to be protected because this is far too little carbon to work with.
supplements.
The first nuke couldn't be defended against. The second nuke, I guess, wasn't going... I mean... I think you do have to goon one of those tiles. There are no spies, so nuking the second carbon would have become a guessing game, but it's certainly far superior than... Okay. You gonna goon that tile? Yes. Good. Also should not be auto-selling carbon. Okay, and you stop. Shouldn't be in chems anymore either, at this point. Yeah, electronics is probably the right move, though. It does feel very sad to spend all that carbon on the transition. I'd really think about going into a patent lab for something like nanotech at this point, and slant drilling. Something to really deal with this carbon problem. I'm not sure what the long-term plan is right now for you. I mean, maybe the long-term... No. You're going to an Offworld. That is an insanely expensive Offworld. It'll take so long for that to pay itself back.
The black market is online.
I'm not sure I like that move. I mean, I understand it in a lot of ways. A fair chunk of the carbon cost is going to be recouped because you're the sole carbon producer. But still. Also, I don't understand its placement here instead of where the solar panels are. I mean, I guess part of the idea is that if you move a solar panel, then you're probably not covering your power costs. Black Magic just gives it up, huh? I don't really know how this fell apart quite the way it did for Black Magic. I don't really understand it. Guess he prioritized thinking machines. He couldn't reach an Offworld because there's no money to be made. Which is why... So yeah, I guess it makes sense that he gives it up at this point. And Dubin is probably fine. I mean, you had all that extra cash most of the game. So even though I'm really criticizing this off-world move and everything, you were in a commanding position. It's just a bit awkward to me because it is going to take so long to pay off because your debt position was awful. And... yeah. It felt like maybe something like a hacker array play could have paid off. But that was probably a fine decision, and there's maybe not enough money left for you to make the hacker array really work. Yeah, definitely a big mistake out of Black Magic, besides, well, a lot of shenanigans on HQ 2-3. Where he was playing with all these prices, where he was buying stock, he just wasn't upgrading. He had all that cash to work with, but he chose to make plays that were maybe a little effective, but they weren't doing all that much. I mean, his life support plays were probably somewhat more effective than I'm thinking, given the eventual outcome of the game, because he did force a lot of weird transitions, and I think prices were rising decently well, but I'm not sure it was worth delaying the extra upgrades for. I think the biggest thing was going into thinking machines that quickly when he had no real clear path to an Offworld. These prices were high, there wasn't that much money on world. So it wasn't clear to me that he was going to get to an Offworld reasonably soon. And in the meantime, well, he should know that Carbon's going to go insane with all the nukes he's raining down, with everything Dubin's going to want to be doing. Going for Carbon scrubbing unlocks these two markets and helps prevent him from falling into this hole where he is, where he can't do anything. It is fair to say that he still has 0 silicon access at this point. There's maybe he can't really contest glass effectively. But it's just really awkward play by Black Magic. I mean, part of it definitely does have to do with the found. Once a scavenger gets established, takes strong control of the silicon market, control of the carbon market, then it's hard to really claw your way back in. But it felt like he had these advantages in the mid-game that he just didn't capitalize on. Then he failed to really put together a coherent plan to catch up. Because as strong as a position as Dubin's in, I think there's a lot of opportunity left in this game for Black Magic to catch up because of these debt problems, because this Carbon is so weak. That he just didn't put himself in a position where he could have that extended fight. Yeah, I mean, I think the Offworld, let's see, you have 42k plus, I don't know how much that is in resources. Let's call it 30k. So the Offworld is around like 140k in resources, which means, okay, roughly 3 launches to pay off. That's not so bad. And you are right, you're going to be recouping the carbon cost because you have the control of that market. But it is going to be a pretty slow payback for the carbon. Yeah, I was just saying I was concerned about it because you did have a lot of cash, and there are these long-term issues that weren't getting dealt with by putting down the Offworld. It's a hard call to make, but evidently going to the Offworld caused Black Magic to give up. But yeah, by this point, because Black Magic painted himself into such a corner, you probably had this game regardless.